What's going on, everybody? It's your homeboy, Popular Video Games here, chilling out, maxing out, doing my thing. Alright, y'all. Now, welcome to my fan fiction / prediction series of The Flash, Season 3, Episode 15. Now, this is after a 2-week event of the previous episode. So, yeah, this is 2 weeks later in The Flash's world. Now, let's get into this later. Now, the episode starts off in Troff's HQ. Cisco is working with Troff, leading scientists, about the weapon that's partially complete. Rip comes to Cisco and questions him on the limits of his power. Rip says, "What can you do?" Cisco lets him know about the breaches, and he says, "Wait, you can make breaches?" Cisco says, "Well, I can, but it's not mastered." Rip says, "Make a portal to Hef's base, and we won this war." Cisco says, "Whoa, that's way too much pressure. Hold on now, I'm not sure I can actually do this." Rip grabs Cisco and says, "We can launch a surprise attack." Rip begs Cisco to try, and the others in the base looked at him. Now, peer pressure, he said, "Okay, I'll give it a try." And he starts with the breach. Now, the breach opens, and he actually sees some instances of a location. Rip says, "You did it." But Cisco says, wait a minute, I'm not entirely sure this is what we're looking for." And then Cisco loses control of the portal. Now, it's become unstable. Out of nowhere, two girls appeared from the portal and hit the corner of the room. One of the people manages to push the other off them, and they get up and look around. Everyone is in shock. Everyone looks at one of the intruders and says, "Wait a minute, Laurel?" She looks at them and then says, "How do you know my name?" Troff's whole military starts pointing guns at them, telling them to stand down, while the other one is known to be a speedster because she runs fast enough to grab Black Siren and runs her into the city. There they do battle. Now, the speedster stops and sends Black Siren flying. Now, the speedster runs after Black Siren. Black Siren screams at the ground, breaking up the concrete, which trips up the Speed Girl. She slides right underneath a bridge, and then Black Siren looks up and uses her power to collapse the bridge. Now, Speed Girl manages to see the rumble falling and dodges it just in time. Siren starts using her power and disables Speed Girl by constantly laying on her a sonic blast. Speed Girl gets a rock and with her super speed manages to hit Black Siren in the face. Speed Girl looks down, takes a breath, and gets up. As she gets up, Black Siren hits her with another sonic blast, knocking her out. Black Siren then makes her escape. Now, the speedster wakes up hours later in a dumpster with her suit a bit undone, and for some reason her suit feels a bit sticky. Now, she gets up and looks at the world that she's in and runs off. Wally's on the scene clearing people from a building as bombs were going off inside. He can't get to one person in time, and that's when he sees Jess. His first thought is, who the fuck? Jessie saves the person and Wally runs to confront her. She runs away and Wally chases after her through the city. Meanwhile, back at Hef, repairs are made after Cisco's portal started shaking the structure, and then the two metahumans cause a bit of damage on their escape. Now, Diggle comes out screaming, "We're under attack!" Everyone just looks at Cisco. Cisco says, "I thought I could control it." Diggle says, "Whoa, what's going on?" Rip says, "Next time realize people's lives are at stake. Your foolery cannot be permitted." Barry says, "Hey, calm down. It was an accident. You've never been a meta, so you don't know, but I'll educate you. It takes time to get used to your powers." Rip stares at Barry and says, "You're right. I don't know. I'll never learn to be bothered about the people that destroyed this world and hunt my children and wife down." Rip turns and walks away. Thea is lurking in the corner as this goes on. Diggle turns and sees her. He walks over to her and says, "Why don't we get out of here for a while?" Thea agrees, saying that the stress in here is too hectic. The two leave the base in an ordinary car that they had borrowed from Troff. Troff also keeps ordinary cars to blend in so they can sneak up on Hef and EOD. Now, they arrive at Diggle's house. As soon as they get in, Thea jumps on the couch and says, "I really miss sitting on your couch." Diggle says, "No joke, we've been down for 2 weeks. It feels good to be able to move again." Thea says, "I can't believe how strong that metal was. Like I thought he was really going to." Diggle sits next to her and holds her. He says, "That's not going to happen." And it didn't happen. So that's all that matters. Thea smiles and says, "I never thought how much I would need you in my life." The two kiss, but this time, something's different. Thea jumps on top of Diggle and rips his shirt off. Diggle surprised and says, "Whoa now." Thea says, "I wasn't in control of it when that meta took me hostage. Please, let me be in control of what I do with it now." Diggle takes Thea's bra off. Thea bites Diggle's neck. She unbuckles Diggle's pants. Diggle pulls down hers with one hand and holds it with the other. Both underwears come off, and Diggle takes Thea's body and starts to penetrate it. Next scene, Wally is still chasing after Jesse. She stops and looks at Wally. Wally removes his mask and says he's friendly. Don't be afraid. Jesse responds, I'm not afraid. I'm just shy, that's all. They both laugh. She removes her mask. She introduces herself, saying that I'm Jesse Quick. Wally says, I'm the Flash. Jesse says, the Flash, huh? With a name like that, you must have something really big to show off to the girls around town. Wally blushes. Jesse says, you're a virgin, aren't you? Wally says, no, I'm the Flash, girl. Bitches be all over my tip. Jesse stares. Wally says, so, where are you from? Jesse says, another Earth. Wally says, what? Jesse says, my dad was a big nerd in the multiverse, and I guess he was right. I mean, I know what my Earth looks like, and this looks nothing like it. The sky is wrong, the buildings are wrong, everything. It's just so different. Wally says, who's your dad? Jesse says, Harrison Wells. Wally screams, what? He's a monster. Jesse says, not this Earth's one. My father, the sky buildings, this is all different from my world, like I said. Wally says, well, until you figure this out, why don't you stay with me? Jesse says, you haven't even asked me on a date yet. Wally says, well, maybe later, but we need to get out of the open. As Wally says that, a sniper takes aim from the building across from them. Jesse runs over and grabs the sniper and his gun and drops both of them 15 feet, breaking the sniper's leg. Wally says, well, what? Jesse says, hey, sometimes a lady has to be in control. Remember that. And then Jesse runs off. And then she runs back and says, are you coming or not? Wally says, oh yeah, I'm coming. And then Jesse runs off. Wally says, crap, I hate running with a boner, and joins her. Same time, another location, Robert Queen is in his limo with a long, wide box in the back, and he's smiling at it. All of a sudden, a truck explodes in front of the limo. The driver diverts and says, Mr. Queen, stay down. Robert questions, what's going on? The driver says, we are under attack. He looks back and he sees a truck with EOD on it, and Robert says, members of effing EOD, what is going on with these crazy bastards? The driver says, I don't know, but just stay down. Robert says, I've never been one to stay down. Robert then aims out the window with a 45 and starts shooting. The driver says, I'm glad you got this bulletproof car, sir. Robert says, I'm glad I brought this baby. The gun seemed to not really be working, so then Robert opens a container. It's the finished Atom suit. He puts on the gauntlet and fires a shot that blows up one of the three trucks chasing them down. He fires again, blowing the head off the driver and having that car collide into the other. Robert says, you know, I can get used to this. Amazing firing, sir, is what the driver says as they continue down. And then Robert says, let's get out of this city in a hurry. Harley at the same time is getting a withdrawal from the Starling Queen's bank. Now, men see him making the withdrawal. They follow him after he leaves, 2 blocks, and then Harley turns into an alley. When the men turn into the alley, Harley is facing them. Harley says, you got a problem? One man pulls out a gun and Harley sends a sonic burst, blowing the eardrums out of all of the men. It's 3 of them. Harley then proceeds to bash one of the men in the head, busting his head and knocking him out. He bashes the other one on the face and knees the last man. He looked at one of the men with the gun neck. It said EOD. Harley reports to Rip and says EOD is infiltrating Starly. Rip says, dear God. Thea walks out the apartment thinking about how hot she was from the great sex. She didn't notice 2 men camped at the corner. Diggle grabs her and pulls her in and they start laughing. Then the 2 men kick in the door and then they start after them. Thea and Diggle start the battle. Thea stabs one in the heart. 3 more run in. Diggle with one hand throws the guy outside the window. Thea fights 2. Diggle struggles with one. He's tough, Diggle says. Thea snaps the neck of one guy and one dude grabs her legs and picks her up, exposing her boobs. The guy says, nice. Thea kicks him in the nuts and she says thanks after getting up. Diggle gets knocked down by the guy and Thea throws a pencil into the man's eyeball. After this, they both look at each other and go for another round of romance. Barry driving calls Iris. Iris picks up saying, how are you, baby? Barry says, I'm fine, excited for our next date. Iris says, I am too. I'm watching the news and another building has been blown up. Barry says, we'll stop them. Iris says, I know we will, but still. This is just a travesty. Barry says, Iris? Iris says, yes. Barry says, if anything happens to me during this whole war, I want you to know I love you. I did in one reality, and I still do in this one. She smiles and says, you're the love of my life as well. Barry then drops the phone and stops the car because Tony is walking in front of him. Tony yells, who are you? Tony picks up the car and screams, who am I? And throws the car into the wall. Iris screams, Barry! And the phone breaks from the collision. Barry falls out the car with a busted head. Tony says, I don't know who I am. I just want to hurt people. Barry says, Tony, wait. Tony says, wait, you know who I am? And drops Barry. A woman's voice in the background says, your name is Tony, a criminal, an asshole, and you got a small pecker. Tony turns around and says, who the fuck are you? Barry says the same thing. She says, I'm Troff's Nissa. Me and this idiot know each other very well. Nessa and Tony look each other in the face, getting ready for a showdown, which will be next episode. Guys, thanks again for watching. This has been your homeboy, Popular Video Games here. Now, the next episode is coming out in a couple of days. Make sure to stay tuned for that. I decided to shorten up this episode because I have to have them out a little bit faster because of the Flash Season 3 on CW actually coming out October 4th, so I had to shorten this one a little bit. The next one should be about 15 minutes. Make sure to stay tuned for that. Also, like and follow me on Twitter because I'm going to be posting tweets and everything about the updates on this series, so make sure to follow me on there if you're a fan. Thanks again for watching, y'all. You've been an amazing audience. Peace out and talk to you laters.